Hey, remnants out there. Happy Saturday. Welcome back. Um, I thank you so much for taking your time out again to join Remnants of Red, to join me on my journey of just, having conversations to liberate women, because it's all about, with Remnants of Red, you all know pretty much that it's all about women, breaking free from barriers in order to be and pursue and walk in the purpose that was created for each and every one of us. And today, I know last week, first of all, let me apologize for last week, everyone. I hope watching my broadcast last week, I hope no one went, oh my God, what is she going through? Because I kind of like went into this ranting episode. And so if it rubbed anyone the wrong way, my apologies. That wasn't my intent. It was things that were just pouring out from my heart concerning the subject that I am all too familiar with. And so the discussion continues, the conversation continues, and I'm so excited. I know you hear me say that a lot, right? I only bring people on here, people that I am excited about, because I know that they're going to bring to you information, personal accounts that will help you and me, get through or get out and become, right? So today, I would love to introduce this lovely, lovely, beautiful, inside and out woman that I recently got the opportunity to meet. And it was like love at first sight for me. Just her. You ever met anyone, remnants out there, that you come near them, and then all this, like, this vibe or this aura that speaks to you first before the person. And that's what happened with my guest today. Her name is Michelle, as you can see, right? And you know what, I can go, I don't want to like run my mouth or whatever. So I'm going to let Michelle, right? I'm going to let her introduce herself to all you remnants out there. Michelle, please, please let our remnants out there know who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's get
Sure.
to know you.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this
Thank you.
platform. And thank you for all that you're doing. You're breaking barriers by daring
Mm.
to have conversations that a lot of people are either trying to avoid or they just don't know how to start it. So I thank you for that. And I especially thank you today for allowing me to be part of the conversation as well. So, like you stated, my name is Michelle and I serve in different capacities. I serve my community by being a life coach to women and children. I also serve as a behavior specialist. I'm very passionate about working with children of different abilities. Um, I'm in right now, currently, I have a position as a women's leader and co-facilitator for Fierce Women at King's Gate, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love. I'm also an acting director at a school. Well, there's many, many hats.
Oh my
However,
goodness.
there's many hats that I wear, but I'm just thankful that I am able to be productive with the time that I'm giving. And I couldn't make it without having a team of women to surround me and to support me. And that is why I'm very passionate about women's topics,
Yes.
anything related to women. Women empowerment. And I define that a little different from others. I believe that together we are better
Yeah.
together. That's a true statement. And I also believe to celebrate and to encourage one another is the best way to go.
Yes.
So I have two daughters. I have two grandchildren and one on the way. I'm happily married and I have an amazing extended family that is grand and we are so close and I'm very blessed by that. And I am plugged into a community that I'm celebrated and challenged
Right.
always in growing, and I appreciate that so much.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah.
to me.
Is she not a remnant or not? Okay. Um, all the hats that she's wearing, right? And that is why she's here, because of those hats, because of the passion that drove her, to open her life coaching business and become a behavioral specialist, right? And that is also why she's here. Michelle mentioned, stronger together. And so Michelle and I, we're coming together today to talk about a topic where a lot of women out there undergoing this public health crisis, okay, they don't feel like they have the support. They feel alone. So we're here today to break that myth and stand together with everyone out there who is going through domestic abuse. We're done. We're done with it, and we're here to, present key points that we feel will help empower women, because it's really all about empowering women. We can't really take women out of the situation physically, but we can do something better than that. And that
Mhm.
is to equip women with the knowledge, right? With the knowledge that will help them make up their mind and stand firm on their decisions. So, your girl has a presentation for you, because I need everyone to not only see what we're talking about, but in case, because of the importance of the information that's being given out, I always want to give everyone something to refer back to when the occasion calls for it. So let me go ahead and bring up the presentation. Here we are. Here we are. Done with domestic abuse. And so the first point that I would love for Michelle and I that we're going to dive into is the fact that knowledge is power. Like, we hear it a lot, right, Michelle? Like, I don't know, we
Yeah.
hear it a lot. Oh, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is, but do you really know how powerful it is to be in the know, right?
Mhm.
So let's.
Yeah, and something very important about what you just stated, knowledge is power. But sometimes, there's so much information out there that you start to
Mm,
wonder, well, what is relevant to me? So
mm,
today we're going to bring up some points that bring that relevancy. We're
nice.
going to bring the conversation to the table where it feels like, oh, you know what? That is relatable. That does
Mm,
look like kind of like my situation, or where I was at, or where I think I am. We're not going to stay on the surface. We're going to dig a little
right.
deeper today, so that you could be empowered to make those decisions that need to be made.
That's it. Period. Period. So when it when it comes to domestic abuse or domestic violence, you hear those words interchangeable. They're basically the same thing. But Michelle, can you help us? Right? Can you help us get through all that information and kind of like, what in your opinion, right, based on your knowledge, experiences, and all that, what do you believe domestic abuse or violence to be?
Well, the reason that topic, I mean, the label domestic violence or abuse is so broad because it entails so many different forms of abuse. The violence entails different forms of abuse. And by what I mean by that is that in that it's not just the physical and emotional, but
Mm,
there's also financial abuse. There's also different forms of manipulation, harassment, control. So when you look at, there's a even if you go online, or sometimes you come across it, there is called a thing of a cycle of abuse. It's a
okay.
circle and it's divided. It's like a pie chart. You're always going to see different areas of what can be defined as domestic violence, because sometimes you're in a situation where boundaries are being crossed, I'm sorry,
That's
and because you're not being physically abused, you feel that, okay, so this is not domestic violence. It is domestic violence you're being disrespected and you're being treated in a way that your voice is being minimized and your person is being attacked. If you feel that it is unhealthy because this person is not respecting you
Mm.
the way that you deserve to be respected humanely,
Mm.
as humans, regardless of the relationship that we're in, we need to have certain standards, certain boundaries in order to have a healthy relationship. Communication is a two-way.
Two
um,
way.
yeah, it's a two-way situation. It's not when someone is talking at you, giving you orders, limiting you. That's controlling. So this is the way that I am describing the definition of domestic violence as different scenarios that can lead
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because I am guilty of carrying around a misconception, right? And it was when I started really treating this topic that I learned what you're saying. Domestic violence is not only physical. Growing up, seeing what I saw, and being in a certain headspace, all I knew, all I knew was that, okay, it's when they put their hands on you that you should now, leave, or fight back or whatever. No, no, because the whole, like, I look at it as this: everyone has the right to be who they are, right?
Right.
Everyone has the right to, okay, let's take it to the mission of Remnants of Right. Like, there's a purpose that each of us are carrying, right? And going through something like abuse will keep us from carrying out that purpose.
Mhm.
So we need to know exactly what each and every one of those hindrances are, right?
Mhm.
For example, it's not just violence. You mentioned, if you're getting disrespected, guess what? That is a barrier. That is one of those things that, if you keep hearing it constantly, it messes with who you believe you are. So now that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
All of these things are being pointed out because we need to recognize those problems, those issues, those
Mhm.
things that will keep us and hinder us from becoming the fullness of who God created us to be. It will hinder us from actually, because the purpose that we carry is actually to serve the world around us. So if we're not available for the world, we need to check those things that are keeping us from
Yeah.
becoming available, right? So it's not only physical. It's
No,
not
I want to
only
mention the
physical.
five. There's five most common types, and I have them. I'm just going to read them off the
Go
list.
ahead.
And
Hmm.
I said economic violence, um, political and institutional violence. There's cultural violence, sexual or gender violence, cyberbullying, religious violence as well. So you see, there's different types of violence that come under what is domestic abuse.
Hmm. Mm. And that's crazy. You just took it, Michelle, you just took it like a whole nother level. I'm here like, oh my God, like economical,
Yes. And I could give,
cultural.
yes, and even cultural. And I'll give an example of that so that I could clearly define it better.
Okay.
Um, I had the privilege of in 2011 of being trained by the Passaic County Women's Center for a 40-hour training in order to serve as a volunteer in their domestic response team. And through that, I learned so many things because, like you, I did not know how to clearly define what domestic violence entailed. I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it. So I came across a case one time where a young man came seeking help because his abuser kept taking away the promise of giving him the paperwork in order for him to get his visa. So
Hmm.
the way that this person did it was taking away his personal documentation. She used to take hold of his birth certificate, anything that identified him. And
Hmm.
because he was in the process of getting his his legal status, she will manipulate and control him by taking these items away. And then he was stuck in a situation where he felt he had no voice. He felt he had no power. Now, mind you, I'm talking about a male here, which the accuser was a woman, right? So I know today we're talking about women being in situations, but also when I looked deeper into this case, it turned out too, she was raised in a home where there was domestic violence, domestic abuse, and that cycle of abuse continued in her. And this is why
Mm,
her relationship, she brought that into the matter. But
mm,
it just turned into a whole another thing because her personal situation was very different from what she was doing. So she was not making the connection.
mm,
So it wasn't until we were able to serve this family and help them realize, what was really going on and clearly defining for them that this is domestic abuse. And then,
mm,
we had it was layers. But I'm just mentioning this so to be an example because it's happening to a lot of people out there where they're in situations where they're not being physically abused. And sometimes pretty words are being used, but your paperwork is being taken away and your freedom rights. You're not able to do here, you go there, say this, say that, because
mm,
that legal status is always being held over your head.
mm.
That's just an example, and
Yeah,
again, it
it's
comes down
it's
to control,
it's
control and manipulation.
that's I think that is the theme or the motive, behind. And it's very important, right? We're talking about equipping ourselves, empower ourselves with knowledge. Like we need to understand that the main culprit or device or reason for behind domestic abuse or violence is the fact that the abuser needs to have control. They
Yeah.
need to have control. Okay.
Mhm.
They need to manipulate. They need to starve you. They need to take whatever it is away from you. Why? In order to gain control over you.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. We're here to break. Okay. We're here to
Mhm.
break off the hold of that control in order to now free you up enough to get this knowledge in and
Mhm.
empower yourself to move forward. And I like how you mentioned in what you said, Michelle, about the abuser, right, being raised in a home where there was abuse, and that kind of feeds into my next point, right? Be
Mhm.
aware of your weaknesses and insecurities. I'm gonna tie for time sake. I'm gonna tie we're gonna talk about both the remaining points. Be aware of your weaknesses and insecurities and look out for red flags. Now you mentioned, right, the abuser growing up in the home.
Mhm.
Ladies, know thyself. Know your situation. Like if you don't keep it real about anything else, I'm going to need you to keep it real about yourself. Like there are things like, for example, and I believe as I go into it, as I talk more about it, I believe that is one or was one of the issues that put me in a situation of domestic abuse. I grew up in a home where I saw it almost every day, not almost every day, I'm exaggerating, but I saw it enough to where I think I was about 13 years old. I don't know, I was a young teenager, and I remember my dad hit my mom, right? like I don't like this is something that I was seeing before. Like I saw it, it almost became a norm. I also grew up in a culture where it was almost like a norm. Like when my mom is talking to her friends about it, I'm hearing them exchange, experiences. And I'm like, wait a minute, but one day my dad hit my mom and I blacked out. I I think I believe I pushed him And next thing you know it, both of us ended up in the streets. I don't know how the whole thing went back. Like, we're going back. Mind you, I'm young. I'm young. Okay. And we
Mhm.
end up in the streets. I later apologized because I know as a child, I shouldn't have behaved a certain way. But the point is, the statistics of people growing up in an abused home, and then later on being in an abused home or becoming an abuser is high, ridiculously high.
Yeah.
So high that you have to somehow relate the two. You got to connect the two, because it's all about your mind and what you're
Mhm.
exposed to, and it becoming the norm. So I believe, being exposed to it, something in my mind said it's normal, even though when I was in the relationship it hurt. It hurt. Being hit hurts. Being told that you're nobody hurts. Being compared to other women, it hurts. Seeing someone that you love. Not saying, I don't ever want to take away the fact that you do love these individuals, right? Seeing
Right.
that individual now show love to another woman, and you in the relationship desiring the love he's giving to others for yourself. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't know, and but I believe it was me being exposed to what I was exposed to growing up, that somehow inadvertently told me stay.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
You
almost
want to
like
know? Right? Go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. It's almost like subliminally your that idea is put in your head, and there's automatic acceptance to it. And even though part of you is saying, no, I don't deserve this, but there's another part of you that it feels so comfortable. It doesn't feel foreign at all. So
Right.
you taking it one more day and then one more day, and you let one more day pass. And sometimes you're hopeful about the future. Maybe this person would change, or maybe I will become stronger, or
I
maybe you
was.
minimize it. Is different reasons for it. But my story relates very much to growing up in a home where there was domestic violence. Unfortunately, I wasn't raised in a home with my father, with my biological father, because he severely abused my mom. And I didn't know the full story until later on in adulthood. I had to figure it out along the way, which
Mm.
didn't help my relationship with my mom because I craved a relationship with my father. So there was always that lingering question, why you don't allow me to see my father? Why can't we have a relationship even if we're apart? I understood that, but I
Hmm.
didn't understand why she will always keep me away from him. Come to find out, my mother was protecting me all along. My father tried to go after my mom when I was 7 months old. He tried to go after my mom to beat her. He was under the influence of alcohol, came home in a jealous rage, and started to wanted to beat my mother because she wanted to go to a festival nearby, something
Mm.
very innocent. And my mom had to flee for her life. She had to leave the house running, and she left me behind in the crib because she's running for her life. And this is the part she didn't share with me until later because she was so ashamed. But she left me, and then my father attacked me. And when he
Mm.
attacked me, I would imagine being a baby at 7 months old. He hurt me. He really hurt me. There's a story that says that my father grabbed a hammer and beat
Oh
me
my
with
gosh.
the hammer. I know. And my mom, when she got to her siblings, she asked her sister to come and check in on me. So when my aunt saw that I was bruised and beaten and crying,
Oh
she
my
saw the whole,
God.
she went and got my mother. And then my father that night got arrested. And then that was the night my parents separated. They never again, my mother never came around him again. My father went to jail. They bailed him out. He got bailed out because he really didn't have a record before, and because the circumstances surrounding being that he was under the influence. And then those times were different.
Right.
But what happens now? So here's my mom, a young mother. Now she's single with me in this situation with this history already. So every relationship that she got into kind of mimic the first one, because there was many men my mom engaged in relationships with, which would treat her badly. And it wasn't always a physical abuse. Sometimes was that lack of partnership, that financial covering, um, or sometimes just not respecting my mother, and having different affairs here and there, these men. So I'm not saying that my mother looked for these relationships, but she settled for this because she was beaten inside and out. And she didn't have the strength and the courage in that time.
Yeah.
And here she is carrying this shame that really didn't belong to her. She didn't want to say her full story, because here's the woman that ran out the home and left her baby behind, and her baby got hurt. So no one wants to say those stories. No one wants to admit to that. And it wasn't until she was telling me, and she's crying and she apologizing to me, that I said, Mom, you're so courageous. You ran for your life, Mom.
Yeah.
And you know what, Mom? We survived that. We survived this attack. You and I. You didn't leave me. You left because if you would have had not left, you probably would have had not lived. And because you left, we're alive today. Because she was able to send someone back. But then I was able to connect why growing up I saw so many of the things, and why this passion in me, and this fierceness in me to fight for women's rights, to advocate, to become an active member in society, in community, and to empower women. Because, okay, I was never in a relationship where I've been abused or I've been neglected. Not in that sense. Yes, my ups and downs in relationships, and a whole lot of decisions I could have made a lot better. But I think that comes with life. However, growing up in a domestic violence situation, I always had walls built up. Always. I was always on my guard, because I thought maybe it's going to happen to me. So before it happens to me, I'm going to be a certain way, which that's not really healthy. That's not a healthy approach. But God's grace, I was able to mature and been able to learn and teach others that there is a better way to approach situations. And I guess that's how I became a behavior specialist, because I study human behavior so much. There's a reason for everything. There's a reason for everything. And what I tell women is that, yeah, sometimes you cannot leave the situation right away. It's true. You can't. Like it took that experience for my mom to flee, right? But then she kind of stayed in the situation by accepting certain things in her life. And then that kind of spilled over into my life, because then I was guarded. I wasn't free to love. I wasn't free to trust because of what I lived in. However, even being in the midst of the situations, there's a lot of things that you could bring back to yourself. And first of all, those words that are being spoken at you, that I know they're terrible, and those actions, you could understand that the problem is theirs. The problem is not you. The problem is theirs. Because that's one thing that my mom told me, explained to me. I will always play part of the problem. It takes two to tango. It takes two to have an argument. It takes two to have a fight. Well, not always when you're in a domestic violence situation. If someone trying to beat you down, there comes a point where you start believing these lies. It's not necessarily true. You could stand firm and understand the first step in saying, you know what, the issue falls on them, the problem is them. And then you could start looking inwardly and find that strength to rebuild. And I love that you mentioned community before. I love that we did say something about better together, because it's forums like this that feeds your inner voice. That understand I'm not alone, and I don't have to do this alone. Physically, I may be in this space by myself, but out here in this world, I am not. I am not. My story is my own, but I don't have to keep it quiet. I don't have to be ashamed because of other people's actions, because of their insecurities, right? Because whatever contributing to them acting in the way. And I'm not excusing anyone. We all have the opportunity to always do the right thing.
I am fighting back tears, okay? And it's not tears of, being sorry, feeling sorry. It's tears that of joy, if anything, because this is the kind of stuff I know someone, right, is going to watch this and become empowered. Why are we talking about all of this? Why? Because we need you to be empowered. We need you to know that it's not you. You're not alone. Ladies, okay? Ladies, or whoever it is out there watching this video and you are going through this situation, I want you to know that it's not your fault.
Mm-mm.
It's not your fault. Don't believe that. Do not believe that. Although words and, the physical things are being, you're being hit with all these things to make you believe that it is. No, you're not. And while you were talking, Michelle, one of the things that came to my mind is that, to let you ladies out there know that, and to let myself know that it's okay. It's okay to know certain things about yourself. For example, people want to be loved. Naturally, as human beings, we want to be loved, right? Don't fault yourself because you want to be loved, or you want to, me too. Shoot, I want to be loved too. I want to be in a relationship. That, me and my partner has a certain understanding, and maybe that's your reason for getting into a relationship. Maybe your reason, who knows, who cares, or maybe you're walking around with certain insecurities, right? The weaknesses and the insecurities that you notice about yourself. It's okay. What we're saying is, once you know these things, let's start doing something about it.
Mhm.
We're now talking about red flags. Okay, there are certain behaviors. I not only want you to notice, to look out for the red flags in other people, right? Because these red flags are supposed to bring you to a point where you're saying, you know what, I see something off, so I'm just not going to bother with it. That's what we want. That's all we want. We just want you to become so empowered here, because you've heard of sayings like mind over matter, or once you have somebody's mind, you have their whole being. That's real. That's true. That is
Yeah.
so true. Like, one of the biggest themes of my favorite book of all time, which is the Bible. It talks about how important it is for you to think right, get your mind right, because
Yeah.
everything else flows as a result of what's going on in here. So, ladies, we're talking about being done, totally done. We don't want to deal with domestic abuse anymore. We don't want our loved ones to have to go through it. We don't want our children to have, we're going to have to break this norm. The statistics
Yeah.
are too high. So that's why me and Michelle are here. We are here to empower you with what empowered us.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, if anything, look at Michelle, look at me as witnesses, as a testimony that you can get through it.
Yeah. And
Michelle
I,
is a, go ahead, go ahead.
and I want to also add to that, because sometimes when we say things like this, and you're right, like, let's be done with this. Let's move on. Let's go for what's better, for what we really deserve in life. The reality is, it doesn't happen overnight for many
Great
people.
point.
It doesn't.
Great point.
But if you come up with a plan, and you every day you take at least one step towards that, right?
Mm,
It's something. It's something of value. It's like you're given a key, and pretty soon you're going to get to open that door. Because I
wow.
understand certain circumstances you can't leave. You can't leave
That's
because
true.
it can cost you your life. You can't leave because probably you don't have where to go to. You can't leave because maybe, I don't know, maybe you're trying to protect your children on your way out, or staying in this situation, or there's so many different factors. Your truth, but
Yeah.
know that every day you could take one little step. Maybe
Mm,
one step could be having a safety plan. Another step could be getting connected with someone, another woman that could have that voice that you can express at the moment, and opening up to them. Um, Sometimes I remember when we used to be in training, sometimes it's just getting hold of a key and putting it somewhere else, so that if you have to leave that home and be able to come back in, you
Yes.
know, putting your important paperwork away in a place, getting a little bag and putting your essentials there in a hidden spot or in someone's home. There's a lot of little things, and I know as the conversations continue, these points will be presented. But for right now, what I want to say to you is start now. And
Yes.
if it means
Mm.
for you that is small steps, that's okay. That's okay. You could start
Mm.
with small steps, because I know you have to be careful. I know you
Yes.
have to be
Please be careful.
big. Yeah.
Please.
And I
Yes.
know it's so easy to talk about it, but when you're in the predicament, it's not that easy. And some days you can see a wide open door that you can walk through, and other days you're boxed in. So I get it. I understand that. So this is why it's important that you start with the small things.
That's
Start
right.
with yourself. Start with a plan. Give yourself, even if you don't write it out because you can't, that's okay. Start and simplify it. Simplify the steps. And if you have to break it down even more, that's okay.
That's
That's
fine.
okay. Give yourself permission to do that. But please start today.
Yes. Please start today. Oh my God, Michelle, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Uh,
You're welcome.
I mean, I almost feel like like I'm on the other end receiving from you. Amazing. Amazing. I think the biggest thing out of what you just said that I want to repeat is that it's like just take a step. Just take a step. We know that maybe you can't do it. Maybe you can't just walk out the door right now, which we heavily advise against if you're in a situation where that will threaten your life. No, what we're saying is begin. If anything, begin here. Begin
I want
here.
to say to those women who have made it out but found themselves
Mm,
in the situation, you can't punish yourself for that. Please don't punish yourself for that, because you know what? You are the author of your story. And if you went back because maybe hope brought you there, or need, or whatever it was, do not let shame or other people's questioning or accusations
that's it.
bring you deeper and further into your situation. No, you know what? You made it out and now you're in. At least give yourself credit. I made it out before.
Yes,
So now
and
I
help someone else out.
plan. Yeah. And so please give yourself credit for that, because I
Yes.
find that a lot of people who come out of the situations, or are able to seek help and then they retract. I know that other people are like,
Oh
but you
wow.
know what? You must like it because you're in the situation, you had a chance
Mm,
to leave. It's not that simple. It is not that simple. And no one has the permission to try to go at you and judge you for your actions. If you went back in, maybe it was whatever decision it made, but you understand, this is not working out. This is really unhealthy, and I want out. That's okay. Start that plan, continue that plan. And you made it
mm,
out before? Okay, you can do it again. And this time, next time, it'll be better. Okay? But please start and give yourself permission to take it little by little.
mm. I think you've ended it. What more is there to say other than what was just said? I I don't think I am going to stress this for everyone watching today or who will get the opportunity later on to watch this conversation. I am stressing, I am pleading, I am begging you. Please share these conversations. Not and please the anyone who knows me and why I do what I do is is not for anyone. I don't it's not about the likes. It's not about the numbers or what. It's about I need women to be free, y'all. This is real life stuff here. There are people I mentioned in the previous conversation. I had a friend who died as a result of domestic violence. She died with her purpose. She died with her gifts. She died without really coming into, in my opinion, she died without coming in. Like there was so much about her that this world would have benefited from, and she now does not have that opportunity to do it. So Michelle and I are here because we need to make sure, like, our passion, what we do, was birthed out of experience. It was birthed out of seeing wrongs and wanting to help correct them and wanting to help empower, especially women.
Yes.
Please share these conversations. Please comment. I'm going to start a campaign where I want ladies. I want you ladies who have gotten out of it. I want you ladies who are brave enough, courageous enough to talk about your experiences and
Yes.
send them in, because I want to send it out. I want to send it out. Like, I want
Mhm.
to send it all over the world. If there was a world beyond this world, I'm going to send it there too, because I need women to be liberated. Because the next my children is going to benefit from someone watching this video, because you decided to be free and live in purpose, live on purpose. I don't want
Yeah.
my children to face this. That's why I'm talking about. I don't want my son to become an abuser. So that's why I'm talking about this.
Mhm.
Let's share. Let's again, to tie it all up. Why are we talking about this today? Because we want everyone to be empowered and equipped with the knowledge to help take those steps forward to getting out of your situation. As Michelle said, please, we're not saying it's not an overnight process. We're not saying, oh, as soon as you hear this, you're obligated. We're forcing you. We're pushing you to get out right now. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is get your mind right, because you'll find out through a series of these conversations that it is a process. It's not just getting out. Before you get out, you got out. There are things like building a support system. There are
Mhm.
conversations in the future that we're going to talk about loving yourself, because loving yourself is also a way to empower yourself, to break off some of these manipulative things that have been wrapped around. You know what it's about? First of all, getting your mind together, building the strength before you actually physically, leave your situation. So Michelle, oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Michelle, I'm going to ask you in front of everyone. Okay. Can you join me next week? Would it be possible to join me
I'm
again next week?
I will share with you my schedule, and then you
Okay.
choose what works out best. I would love to. I would love to
Okay.
continue because I feel like we just hit a little bit of the
Mm,
conversation. There's so much more. So, however way I can serve and however way I can learn, I want to continue to be part of this conversation.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And it continues beyond here.
Yeah.
If you need information, please, Michelle's information is there. She mentioned she's a life coach. She deals with children, therapy with children.
Yeah.
Oh my God, behavioral. I'm gonna call her behavioral strategist. Okay, because the way she, disseminates the information, my goodness, it's like very
But
empowering. So
whatever the Lord has allowed me to come across in life, that is not for me to keep, it's for me to share, and I will gladly do that. So
thank
please
you.
know that there's people out here like Nora and myself that are
Yes,
willing to serve in small ways, in big
yes,
ways, in whatever
please.
way we can.
Yes.
So
And on that note, thank you, all you remnants out there that joined us. Thank you for every remnant that is going to take this conversation and share it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your support. And I'm so excited to see where all of this is going to go because of your support and coming and standing with Remnants of Red. So on that note, please enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And as I always say, find someone to love on today.
Yes.